welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow. I'm your host, John Edwards, and joined, as always, by my lovely wife, Stacy.
Hello.
And we want to say hello. Want to say hello again. Hi.
Hi.
All those out there watching us on paranormal television. The very best of spookiness, since you got us now. It doesn't get much spookier than that.
This is true.
And to those of you in our normal, mundane places like YouTube, hi, we'll say hi to you too. And to our lovely patrons that are patreon.com/Paranormal Sideshow. It's a great place to hang out, Stacy.
It is.
It really
Lots
is.
of extra stuff.
It doesn't get much extra than me.
That's
Is
right.
Extra
This is very true. Extra.
Extra? I don't know.
You are extra.
I guess I'm more extra.
There you go.
Would that be extra?
Extra.
Yeah, cheese all about it. All right. So I'm going to get something really strange right off the bat.
Okay.
Yeah, so this one got me. So a lot of times I'm looking for lists. I'm looking for things to do. And, you know, I was actually working on a list of the top 10 out-of-place artifacts from India. Yeah. So hello, all of our listeners in India. You know, hi, and YouTubers, the YouTube watchers in India. You like that, don't you? Mm-hmm. I've already started a thing.
It's a new thing.
It is a thing. That's how things work. They have to start somewhere. But I put it to the side in my box of Indian relics that I've yet to use. And instead, I was perplexed even from a story that I read on Mysterious Universe.
Okay.
It was by a nice young man, a little Brent Swainer.
Okay.
Something like that.
He writes a lot for them.
Yeah, I just wanted to give him a little shout out since I'm about ready to steal your story.
Mm-hmm.
Not really. I went and looked at all kinds of newspapers. So I still went back to yours, though, because yours was written
He's
a lot
the
better.
inspiration.
Yes.
Inspiration.
Why
there you
else
go.
would you put strange things on there if you didn't want people to read them, right?
Exactly.
So it really got me because I don't know if I've heard it before and just forgot about it, but I just thought it was really weird.
Okay. We're all about weird here.
I enjoyed it. And when I was reading, I pulled up something from the New Yorker magazine from the 30s, and I was reading an article there that kind of got into it a little bit. Then I read the Chicago Tribune from like early 1900s, and they had something in there that was really interesting too. But basically, it's the Brooklyn Enigma is how he, pronouns pal, how Brent wrote it, was the Brooklyn Enigma. But it's also categorized in a book, a famous book at the time, but Fasting Girls, because of some of the things that happened with Miss, her Christian name would be Mary Jane Molly Fancher. Fanchet for you fancy people. But yeah, no, Mary Jane or Molly, I guess it's Molly because that's what good old Molly, that's the thing on it is, well, it's wild. It happened in New York City. Little New York story there. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about it. You want to hear it?
I do want to hear it.
A little bit weird.
Yes.
Well, actually, it's a lot weird. But I've actually got it pulled up on my phone of knowledge.
Your portable teleprompter.
Yeah, because I won't use a teleprompter. I refuse. Don't need those things. Actually, on a lot of stories, already up there.
Right.
This one just really got me. Basically, it starts out, her story, if you will, starts out, if you will, sorry, it's a little dusty, Rose Love, but it starts out like she didn't have her father around a whole lot when she was a kid. She had some gastrointestinal problems, and the doctor prescribed her horseback riding. He said it was like a nervous stomach.
Huh. Interesting medicine from, back then.
Well, the horse comes into play quite often.
Okay, then.
Just thought I would throw that out as well. It's pretty crazy. The horse comes into play because she was thrown from her horse.
Oh, no.
And she incurred some broken bones, and she had a head injury. Luckily, she made a full recovery. She would continue to suffer from fainting spells and violent headaches. But her bad luck with horses did not end there, unfortunately. On June 8th of 1865, Fancher's skirt got caught on a horse-drawn trolley that she was trying to get off of, and she was dragged behind it for, this says some distance, but it was about a block, and people were horrified. They were like, oh, yeah.
See, that just goes to show you the quality of the clothing they made back then.
Right?
Buttons didn't pop off, didn't tear,
or the
dragged her.
work ethic of the horses. You never know. She did survive, but not without some serious injuries, including dizziness, vision problems, and head and spinal damage. The accident also left her bedridden, and she would start to claim that, and something interesting on this, one of the stories from like the New Yorker talks about how they took her to her bedroom on that day when she was 18, and she never left it like for 50 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, pretty crazy. Left her bedridden. She started to claim that she had a strong connection to the spirit world, often having visions and going into trances for long periods. It happens. Sometimes for days, weeks, even months on end. She also had bouts of paralysis and blindness that the doctors could not explain. It was then that she would manifest some peculiar anomalies. On February 3rd, 1866, Fancher allegedly bolted upright from her bed, let out an ear-piercing shriek, and then fell into this strange trance-like coma that would last a full 9 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
During this, she would display all sorts of oddness. Herbert Asbury would write in his book, All Around the Town, throughout the 9 years, her eyes remained closed. And for 6 years, her body was cold and rigid. There was no evidence of respiration. Her physicians could detect only a slight pulse, and she never spoke. Occasionally, she was fed by force, but for some months at a time, she was given no nourishment except a little water. During the last 3 years of the long trance, Miss Fancher's body relaxed to some extent. She spoke once in a while, and she was able to move her left arm, and with considerable freedom. In that time, she wrote 6,500 letters, a score of poems, and lyric prayers, and made a satin waist and pleated lining for her coffin. Among other feats included crocheting and making wax flowers. Now, they did, something else I read another place, they sold those things.
My goodness.
People wanted to buy them because, hey, the crazy dead girl that crochets flowers.
Wow, it's like I have no excuse for not pursuing hobbies.
I'm sure you're trying your best.
I'm sure.
And when she finally awoke, it was lucid. She found that she could remember very little about her life, a form of amnesia, and that she now had potent psychic abilities, described by her caretakers as those supernatural powers, clairvoyant gifts, and uncanny exploits. She claimed that she had lost her vision in her eyes, but she could see psychically through her forehead. She was also apparently able to predict future events with uncanny accuracy, including the death of her own brother, travel astrally out of her physical form, and the ability to read what was written on pieces of paper ensconced within envelopes simply by placing her hand on them. And this is something I read somewhere else. Or they would place them under her skirt, on her body, anywhere.
As long as it was touching her skin.
Yeah, she could read them.
That's insane.
And she could read minds. I think I would lead with that.
Right.
Just me, personally. And various other displays of psychic power. She also knew when people were about to arrive, when storms were coming, and she generally freaked her doctors out and her caretakers.
I would say so.
Adding to all this, she was that she now seemed to have various different personalities living within her. One was called Idol, another was Sunbeam, another was Ruby, another was Pearl, and Rosebud. Each one was a separate entity with her own memories and personalities. Just as odd as all of this was her claims that she no longer needed to eat anything for sustenance. Indeed, she would, purportedly go many months without eating. Now, this is where her fame almost got as big from the not eating. Mm-hmm. And this was during the Victorian era and the Gothic. A lot of girls didn't eat. Like, it was just a thing.
Right. See, I was going to question you about when she was in a coma, and you said she went months without hardly any nourishment. And I thought, well, I wonder if that's because maybe she was in some kind of meditative. I mean, I was a coma, but sometimes you can slow your body processes down.
Unfortunately, the demands on women at the time were such that there was a lot of not eating, and there was a lot of mania that was claimed to happen. Brain sickness.
Ah, yes.
The brain fever.
The dreaded brain fever.
The brain fever.
Yes.
Yeah. Just don't ever read an intake report from a mental hospital in the 1800s. You'll be really upset. Mm-hmm. So droves of doctors, psychiatrists psychiatrists, I think psychiatrists maybe,
Maybe.
and curiosity seekers would come to see the bedridden woman. Jesus. And her psychic powers. She didn't have to eat. So that was another, come see the amazing non-eating woman and,
wow.
Try to feed her peanuts. And she was being called the Brooklyn Enigma. Even the famous showman, P.T. Barnum, allegedly begged her to join his show. And she was, hey! You want to join the show with me? I'm P.T. Barnum, don't you know? I can take the bed. We can just load it right out the window, put it on an elephant. I brought the elephant. But you already knew that, right? Huh? You knew I was coming already, right? You know what I'm saying? Don't let P.T. Barnum come visit your invalid daughter.
No.
Just don't do it.
After all those claims, how could you keep him away?
You couldn't.
No.
Yeah. Anyway, he allegedly begged her to join his show, and she was quite the celebrity at the time. She really was. There's a lot of articles.
Was she like, I don't need you?
Yeah.
P.T. Barnum.
She was like, I
have my own
you.
circus here.
But Rosebud wants to come.
Oh, wow.
Many skeptics who moved in on her to debunk her claims would go away baffled. It's the way I like to leave the skeptics.
That's right. Baffled.
Such as the respected astronomer named Henry Parkhurst, who performed a series of experiments on her and came away convinced that she was the real deal. Throughout all of this, she was bedridden, largely blind, and had trouble even moving her limbs. When asked why she thought this was all happening, she would say, there must be some hidden purpose in keeping me alive, and that maybe it is just to show thousands of suffering men and women that the human soul is greater than the body and can triumph over any illness or pain the body may have to endure. Something very interesting, further speaking, that's not in this article, but she had some clergy in town, high-ranking clergy, that came to her and believed her stories.
Wow.
Because they seen it. So
that's impressive.
Two of the big skeptics were two doctors, and they were also prominent doctors, but they wanted to say, she's probably a charlatan or, whatever. But they never had proof.
Did they try to give it a medical, because she had so much brain injury and trauma? Did they ever try to do like a split personality kind of
no,
and explain it all away medically?
No. Because they didn't have that at the time yet. They didn't have a name.
I guess. You couldn't, I don't know how you could medically explain not needing to eat.
Well, that's the thing. They wanted to examine her. She would not have it.
Oh, I see.
That's where they claimed this. That's where they used her, skeptic.
Right.
She just wanted to have nothing to do with the doctors.
Well, I would be a little leery too, because, you wouldn't want them to, clearly what was going on was working for her.
Well, see, one person proposed something very strange. They were talking about, why would these doctors spend years and years and years of their life going after this? It made very little sense. At the same time, these people, these clergy, and at the time they were putting their reputations on the line,
right?
Because religion at the time, you didn't want to defy God, you didn't want to go against what the Bible says,
right?
And sit here and talk to the the wicked witch of Endor, I'm just saying,
right? I understand.
It was very odd that maybe something was behind them not wanting people to know what she was doing. But one of I believe it was a Presbyterian minister, said something very interesting. Again, this is just something I've read on this case. And he said that he believes her, and that he believes what has happened is that she's escaped the limitations your body has, and that she has gone on pretty much in spirit. She's still here, but she has found a way during the time she was down to not need anything, and they said that you could push on her belly and feel her spine, that her whole belly had collapsed kind of thing.
So basically her body was just her anchor to the world.
Yes.
And she was basically a spirit.
She's basically a spirit. She knew how to get out. And I don't know if she knew how to ever get back in. That's
right, right. Well, that long of a coma.
Something was keeping her there, but yeah, the whole food thing is really crazy. What was going on with this woman? There's never been any evidence that she was a fraud, ever. And everybody came and tried that. They talked
Clearly.
to her. They're people like, oh, is she just delusional or
It was nice for her to entertain that. Have the skeptics come and go along with their little experiments.
Absolutely. She freaked people out. Like, okay, so they tried her on stuff. Like, she would say what a relative that lived states away was wearing, and they would maybe use Telegram or whatever. They would contact them, and she would be right.
Wow.
If somebody's going to be there later, she would tell them. She was able to do all these things, and it happened in front of people. So there was a lot. Now, the only thing I couldn't find anywhere, and this is one of the things that really got me.
Okay.
I wonder what was in the 6,500 letters.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask you, that was going to be my next question, is if her writings are available.
That's when she was out.
Yeah, because, there's you said poetry and the letters. Who was she writing to?
Yeah, and also, using the big one-hand crochet.
Croquet would be amazing. Probably dangerous laying in that bed like that.
I don't know what's going on. The bloody girl just wants to croquet all the time. Just bring it on in here, governor. Well, go on then, Molly.
Caribou nibbling on your croquet hoops.
Sure. Caribou gone.
I also find it interesting. You said the thing about her being able to read what was in the envelopes when she was touching them, but she could also read minds. I would be curious to know if she was reading what's in the envelopes or what the person was thinking. Like if somebody knew what was in the envelope.
Wait a second. Dear Stacy, thank you for visiting, but it seems Molly has a message that's coming out. I can tell when she's got a message. Please remove that girl. Please remove that girl. She's asking those crazy questions that have no matter.
It doesn't matter, in the sense of the case, but for me, it's a curious thing.
Imagine having any kind of ability and living with somebody who thinks about things like that.
Hey, I don't doubt the ability. I'd just like to know how it works exactly.
It's the mysteries of the unknown.
And then I'd want to explore the split personality thing.
Yeah, well, you have a bird's eye view to that one.
Well, is it, because there's that question there, split personality, possession of other spirits,
It could be possession, but maybe.
Especially if she astral traveled, because, if your spirit leaves your body, there's some room in there.
There is.
Especially if you're gone for years and years.
Well, as long as they all love you, I guess.
I suppose, as long as they're all nice.
Most of them are nice. So, all right. Moving on from there, we have a whole lot of news this week, and that's why I kind of started off with my thing, and I was going to do my list, but I just couldn't because, come on, Molly needed it.
The Brooklyn Enigma. That's an amazing story.
You owe me a Coke. All right. So, I think it's about time for Stacey Edwards and some paranormal news.
All right, let's get to the news.
Let's.
All right, so this first story is a UFO story. It's amazing.
Oh, they're all amazing.
Well, this is about how America's top spy chief, her name's Avril Haines.
Avril Haines.
She is the director of national intelligence, and she oversees all 16 U.S. spy agencies, including the FBI and the CIA.
Wow.
Very important person.
That really is, especially since I didn't know there were 16 spy agencies.
I don't know what they all are either.
She's been hiding about 5 of them really well.
She was speaking at a conference called Our Future in Space. It was at the Washington National Cathedral. And of course,
half of them are aliens.
She was being...
When she's talking to them, they're out there just acting like they're,
they're taking notes. Does she know?
Yeah.
Does she know?
They're just like...
We got one that can see.
We didn't tell our story.
Ah.
We didn't tell our we got one that can see story.
No, we didn't.
I know we just started a great UFO story, and it's our main story. It's a big story.
It's okay. We can finish it in a
Let
minute.
me preface this by saying this is a huge story. But we got to tell you this.
Okay.
So we were out at Target, and we're just shopping. We're just having a normal night.
We did that thing where we went for one thing at Target, and we bought a bunch of stuff, and we came home and went, oh, we forgot the thing.
Guess we didn't get. It was my deodorant, too. Not something you want to forget.
No.
It's only available at Target. It has to be all natural. It comes from Maine.
It's fine. He's fine. Anyway, continue. We're at Target.
Yeah, we're at Target, and we're trying to check out. So as we're checking out, everything's going fine. It's going good. Sweet little girl on the gimmick.
16-year-old girl. Just, yeah, very nice.
Very nice. No complaints. All going good. And we are almost done. We've almost made it. Got away from the humans again. And then we hear it. This guy in line, out of nowhere, he's like, they're taking the kids.
He picked up a magazine that had something to do with vampires or something. One of those, novelty magazines at the checkout were like, oh, vampires in America.
He goes, I got to read this. Vampires are real, And the girl's like, hey, okay. And we didn't acknowledge it at all because we've been around a lot of crazy. And he was just like, I'm serious. I'm serious. I'm serious. Vampires are real. And it's also a cover story because they're having to feed them. The vampires are your politicians, see? They're drinking the kids. They're drinking the kids. It's really happening. You won't know. You don't want to know what I know. And going through all this, and we're just like, we didn't want to set him off. We were just like, all right. And I'm sitting here thinking, he's kind of right.
Right, but
we'll read that in the privacy of our own home. That might be something. I go, Stacy, come here. They're sticking a straw right in her spine. Are you reading that conspiracy crap? No. It's on the U.S. not conspiracy site. We
weren't the only people checking out at Target. There was lines of people checking out, and some reason he just singled us out to start telling us his conspiracy theory. I don't know if we just look like the kind of people.
So every
that
time
would be
back
in
when iPhones first started showing you where you were hooked up at, on cell towers and whatnot, when we first did that, we were like, oh, hey, we can clear that out. Let's see where and they were all like Langley, Virginia, and no crap, man.
All the places you're logged in. No, you're always logged in and like ridiculous.
It was like when we started looking them up, it was like always FBI headquarters places. I'm like, oh crap.
Time to clear that out.
Might not be good. So anyway.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting.
But that's not the funny part. The funny part was where we were acting all stiff and everything. The funny part was my wife. I'm just going to leave it at this. We've got one of them that could see. I'm just going to leave it there. I happen to love They Live. So it's my favorite movie. I know it's a weird favorite movie. It's my favorite movie because it's a true story. But that's, if you know, you know.
Right.
And there we go. Let's get to this amazing, incredible.
We did check on the cashier, by the way. We made sure she was okay before we left her with that crazy guy checking out.
Well, always.
Yeah, we were like, you okay? And she's like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
So. All right, back to our story.
Pound the crazy out of me. You're one of them, aren't you? I'd be like, yes. We've got you now.
All right, so let's get back to the story.
Yeah, this is a really big story. Really big story.
So as I was saying, Avril Haines, Director of National Intelligence.
Avril Love Haines.
was at the Our Future in Space event. And she was speaking alongside other people like NASA's chief, Bill Nelson.
Oh,
we spoke about him. And Avi Loeb.
Good job, Bill.
Professor Avi Loeb, the one who...
Yeah, he's been ostracized by his entire community for...
And even Jeff Bezos was there speaking.
Oh.
But anyway, so they were quizzing her about... Not quizzing her, she wasn't taking a test. They were asking her questions about UFOs and the UFO reports. I guess that's just the go-to question now.
Yeah.
Kind of popular subject.
She's standing there with Abby and she's got her hand on the... They're like, are UFO...
And she admitted that there remains things about the strange encounters that the intelligence community simply does not understand. And she, went into the how we need more investigation and a better way to report this sort of thing. But she also said, there's also the question of, is there something else that we simply do not understand, which might come extraterrestrially? I can't say that. That's weird. Extraterrestrially. Did I get it? She kind of hesitated before she said it. Maybe because it's a hard word. But that sort of set everybody on, because she's now the most senior person to kind of make that alien link with the odd objects, saying maybe they could be from another planet.
Aliens.
Hey, she is head of
Satan.
Head of, the spy agencies. If anyone was going to know.
Yeah, it'd be a bunch of spies.
It would be her.
I mean, that's really big. National intelligence, it's, and especially with who she's around at the time saying that, pretty crazy. And they knew this was going to make news. So there's your distraction of the week, folks.
There you are. But she did say it,
We got all kinds of crises going on right now. Your gas is $29 a gallon. It's okay. It may be aliens.
Could be aliens. They need someone to blame.
They do. They do. Oh, and they do.
Well, let's go on to this next story.
Let's.
About something at the center of our galaxy again.
What? We just did this story.
No, this is a different thing.
No.
Different thing.
Or the big thing.
We did the signal. Yeah, this is different. Apparently, there's a lot of stuff going on there that we don't know what it is.
It was like a crazy kiddie party or something.
Something. So scientists are baffled because they discovered an unexplained barrier at the center of our galaxy that is blocking cosmic rays. I don't know. They have no idea what it is.
Can you block cosmic rays? I mean, wait. I mean, because Earth, they don't go all the way through Earth. Mm-hmm. They bounce back, remember, and shoot back out. Mm-hmm. So that would almost make you think there's a solid object.
You would think so. So what they did was they analyzed some observations made by the Fermi Large Area Telescope, and they found strong evidence for a powerful accelerator at the galaxy's center. And they do know that there's a supermassive black hole there. That is something they do know.
Now I hear,
but this is
the song.
Something unexpected. It says that the density of cosmic rays in what's known as the central molecular zone, that's what they call it, it was lower than in the surrounding area, meaning that something up there is blocking those cosmic rays from doing what they're supposed to be doing. And they have absolutely no idea what it is. No idea.
Well, I mean, come on, you know what it is.
What's that?
It's obvious, man. They're trying to hide it from us, though. They gave themselves away. You know, Hollywood always gives it away.
They do.
Superman 2, bro.
Ah,
the Phantom Zone. Mm-hmm. You know, it's a famous Superman trope.
There you go.
It's the Phantom Zone.
So problem solved. Scientists don't need to be baffled anymore. They just need to watch more movies. Clearly.
That's what I'm here for. The Phantom Zone. I heard it here first.
All right. Let's move on to this next story.
Let's.
It's about a haunting in one of the places that you would like to go investigate. The White House.
Oh, that's my number one. There might be people that don't know. Hey, Paranormal Television. You might not know this. I want to investigate the White House. I've always wanted to investigate the White House, so I should have dibs. I don't care how much money you pay Zach Baggins.
I feel like you've called dibs now that it should be yours. Isn't that the legal binding precedent?
It's paranormal dibs.
You call dibs? You get it?
I call dibs. I've owned the hauntings of the U.S. President's book longer than you.
Even if somebody else called dibs, I bet they didn't put it on like video.
Yeah. I
put
it on the Haunted South like in 2009.
All right. Well, this story is about a new shock doc that's coming out on Discovery Plus called Demon in the White House. Dun, dun, dun.
Boy, that could have many parts.
This is just strictly about the ghosts and the hauntings.
Oh.
It launches on Friday, November 26th on Discovery Plus, and it sort of uncloaks the historic origins of the horror of two grieving first ladies.
Horror.
horror, yeah.
Yeah.
And whether they unwittingly invite an evil presence with a malevolent agenda, they may still torment America's presidents as well as their families. Now, what they're talking about is President Franklin Pierce and First Lady Jane Pierce. They lost their son Benjamin when he was 11. And Abraham Lincoln...
He's still somewhere in the White House.
Abraham Lincoln and Mary Todd also lost their son at the age of 11. And both children perished while their fathers were in the administration, president. And so then this was at a point in time where, spiritualism was big and seances.
Right. They
and
did
things
them in
like
the White
that.
House.
And
Mary
so,
Todd did.
yes, and that's what they go through historical documents and diaries and letters and talk about what happened in the White House and whether or not that is part of the reason, because, every presidential family since then
Lincoln
has had, there's books and books on ghost stories from the White House.
They've all seen them.
And they also talk about this one point in time when they were renovating the White House. It was when Truman was in there. And he hired National Park Service photographer Abby Rowe to document the construction and, what was going on. And she took a picture. It's like just an ordinary photo. There's a bulldozer. There's 3 men standing. And on the other side of the picture, there is a transparent person. And it's very compelling. Photograph. And I did find it. I found it on a website done by Joshua P. Warren.
Right.
He did a blog post about an article and stuff back in 2015, but he has the whole story on there and the pictures and stuff like that. It's very interesting.
It's either a ghost or a transdimensional, being that was there to meet with the president.
Right.
And it's like kind of like a little Doctor Who thing.
Right. So, but I think that's possibly the first photograph of a ghost at the White House.
Yeah,
but that place is
that we know of.
Right.
They might have a painting of a ghost in the White House just sitting there all proper.
Right.
This is Casper P. Warren.
So very cool. Definitely lots of cool ghost stories from there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It would be such an honor and a privilege, but I know it's haunted as poo, and I like the.
We wouldn't need access to the entire White House. Just a couple of rooms.
Give me, the room where the action takes place, and the Oval Office.
Right.
That's what I was talking about. Good Lord, I don't want that room. I hear like Geritol and regret. Yeah, no.
So, all right, so let's move on to some celebrity news.
I love celebrities.
So this story is about Selma Hayek.
I really love celebrities. What's up, Selma? Nothing more. That's how you doing.
She was recently on the Ellen DeGeneres show.
Oh, that's a peachy show.
Making an appearance.
Very nice woman, Ellen.
And she was talking about her home in London. And how they had this really strange situation going on where all of a sudden her staff didn't want to work there anymore. She had this bodyguard and he didn't want to work for her anymore because he claimed that the piano played by itself. And he would see things, like he wouldn't go on the 3rd floor and he would see things. And he decided that he didn't want to work there anymore. And she was like, no. And all of her staff was getting scared. And she didn't really, she had seen a couple things. She said things like doors and windows open and close and lights on and off and stuff. But, it wasn't something that she saw all the time. Her husband thought it was complete nonsense.
Of course.
But the staff, that's there all the time, was really freaked out.
Right.
So she decided that she was going to bring in a psychic medium, someone to, help cleanse the area.
Good idea.
Yeah, and she thought, even if she didn't believe in it, she's like, at least psychologically it would help her staff. He could come in and do a cleansing and they would feel better.
Of course.
So he comes in and she said he was wonderful, that he was so nice and funny and it just was an amazing person. And so he came, didn't give his name or anything, so I don't know who it was. But he came to her house and he started walking through and she was like, all right, look, no funny things, no chicken heads or legs or anything like that.
No woo.
And he was like, no, I'm just gonna, smudge. And so he starts walking through and he's like, oh yeah, there's an old lady here and there's a child. And he found like 20 spirits. And she's like, it just made it worse.
Yeah,
everybody was
sure.
completely freaking out because he kept seeing all these ghosts. And so he supposedly was able to get rid of all the bad energy,
right.
Any of the bad vibes and stuff. And so they got close to the area of the house that was near her daughter's room. And her daughter claims, she was in the audience of the show, and she claimed that she sees the spirits sometimes. Right. And so they got close to her room and there was a spirit there. And her daughter was like, well, did you get rid of her? And the psychic was like, no, I didn't get rid of her. It's a nun. she's praying. I'm not gonna. She's a good spirit. I'm not gonna force her to leave. And they're like, we'll pay you if you make her. And he's like, no, she's been here longer than you. She hasn't asked me to get rid of you, so she should be fine. And so they were okay with letting her stay because she's good energy. I think there's more than one still. A couple of spirits left.
Actually, on Ellen, she was telling this story, Selma, because I saw this, and she said that he started arguing with the daughter, and it was just like, he's like, no, she's fine. He said, now she's wanting you to leave, and so pretty funny stuff. But listen, don't tell me there's a nun in here and everything will be fine. Okay, I've got one reason. I blame the Conjuring movies, okay? Don't tell, it's fine. She's a nun.
I think it's a praying nun, not a creeping up on you and kill you nun.
They're all the same.
You think so?
Eventually.
No level of nun?
Eventually.
So, I don't know. It was a really cute story, and she didn't really want to admit that there was still spirits in her. She's like, my staff's all going to quit. Please don't. Please don't say you keep seeing spirits. Oh, I thought it was fantastic. Well, good for her, though, for bringing someone in.
Oh, she was saying staff, not stuff.
No, her staff's going to quit.
I kept thinking her staff was going to steal her stuff.
No.
If there was a ghost. I was like,
I'm going to have no more staff.
I was like, that's a weird reaction to something being haunted. I was like, do people over there like steal all your crap when it's haunted? Like it's some kind of like Hobbit rule? Because that always bothered me in the Hobbit when they were like, like, well, if you dig and find it, you can keep it. Like what? The treasure. Remember they thought Bilbo had all his treasure in the bottom.
Right.
And
right.
They're like, if it's treasure that you got from somewhere, if you dig it and find it or something.
Finders keepers. They do the finders keepers rule.
It's in his house. It's in his little hobbit hole.
That's funny.
If your house is haunted, we can take all your crap. Well, I'd never have anything.
Then we'd be the haunted collector.
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. So just another kind of celebrity ghost story. This is James Blunt. And he owns a pub called the Fox and Pheasant.
You better own a pub. I don't remember anything after You're Beautiful.
Yeah. Well, he does have a new album coming out on the same day as Adele.
You're still beautiful.
So this particular
Adele's starting to get beautiful.
pub in West London. It's in West London, haunted London. It was built in 1846. He bought it back in 2017.
That's actually a newer pub in London.
Yeah.
They're like, we've got one that's not so... this one's from 1846.
Right. See, I wouldn't have bought it unless there was a ghost. I mean, what self-respecting English pub from the, 1800s doesn't have a spirit or two in it?
Oh, yeah.
Well, supposedly, there's one particular pint pot that falls off the shelf all the time, and it's always the same one. And it freaks the staff out and stuff. But they think that it might be a former customer just because it's the same thing.
Well, I mean, obviously.
Over and over. But, they did reopen the place in 2018. And, they're pretty affectionate about their little ghost in their London pub. So
I've been in some other even local dives where they were actually happy about the spirit they had. Mm-hmm. And, sometimes it just brings the patrons in. It doesn't really break anything. But then there's some, I mean, you can always find haunted pubs and they break glasses and stuff, but not all the time.
Not all the time. Well, like I said, London pubs, 1800, you got to have a ghost or two.
I bet it bothers the crap out of them. They can't drink. But anyway.
Oh, you think?
Oh, yeah.
Probably. Yeah. But they still get to sit around and listen to the conversation and stuff. That's part of it, right?
And they get to read the articles in Playboy. Sure, they're very excited about that.
All right. Well, I have
not a lot of fun for the earthbound spirits.
I have one more story here. And this is about an apartment in China where a court in East China had hired a man to live stream his occupancy for 24 hours in an apartment to prove that it wasn't haunted so that they could auction it off. Now, what happened was the apartment's owner committed suicide in the apartment. He owed a really large amount of gambling debts.
No.
And I guess, he just couldn't handle that. And so his wife...
Really sad.
Yeah, his wife inherited the apartment and they sued her for the money. And so the court decided they were just going to auction off the apartment to cover the debts. But because he committed suicide in the apartment, they were afraid that no one would want to purchase it because they thought it was haunted.
Hopefully he did a good deed for his wife posthumously is what you're getting at. And he made sure it looked haunted.
No, I think they don't want it to be haunted. That's the problem.
I know they don't. Because they want to sell the apartment his wife lives in.
I gotcha.
Unless they find a haunting. I would have been like, booga, 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 booga.
Throwing stuff around.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Exactly. I'd be booga, 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 booga.
So they hired a man to just stay in it for 24 hours and live stream all 24 hours. So while he was online live streaming, 40,000 people watched it. And none of the,
it's like a corner block in China.
Nobody put any bids in on the apartment. Like nobody was watching to see the apartment. They just wanted to see some paranormal activity in this apartment. I mean,
did they?
No, I don't think so. It did go up for auction on November 10th with the starting price of $1.2 million.
Wow.
Which is actually a sale for that. Like it's only 2/3 of what the apartment would cost. We're talking about China here. We're talking about super expensive. It's probably only like this big.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's probably terrible.
House is terrible.
I didn't see any pictures of it, but hopefully they. It didn't say that they saw any kind of paranormal activity, but I guess we'll see if it actually sells.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of crazy stuff in China. A lot of crazy stuff. That's another one we have to get to someday with, some extensive things about the pyramids and all this. I even found in my God, the caves. Oh my God. It'll have to be next time.
Yeah, probably.
Next time my list is actually going to be a little China and a little India because I have to show you guys. A great story, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
But I have to show you guys some finds that they've had that is really out of place. You can't really say out of place artifacts because it's more out of place places.
Right.
Out of time, out of space. There's no way we could have built it.
Right.
It's just really interesting stuff. And there's a bunch of Egypt stuff coming up like that too. But I'm glad you had some paranormal ghost stories today.
I'm telling you, somebody's missing out on a business opportunity here with the whole I'll live in your house for 24 hours to prove it's not haunted. Of course, in the United States, people probably would want it to look haunted. You think it would sell faster if it was haunted?
It depends on what you pay me. I can either make sure that it's haunted or
make sure it's not.
Make sure it's not. I'm talking full on activity, buddy. Stuff you can see. Me and my spirits, I've never been cleansed. I've been doing this crap since 97. Think about it. Just think about it. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the show. We sure as hell did. And if you are a patron, you already know this. But those of you on Paranormal Television, well, you get this version of it. And if you want a little bit more, you want to see a little bit more.
A little bit more of this show, not a little bit more of John. No.
Anyway. So I do my P.T. Barnum. You want to see my invalid girl in a bed?
Predict the future.
Predict the future. Look, she moved her hand.
What's that hand doing? She's crocheting a blanket. Holy cow.
Look at that. Holy cow. That's fake. You saw that? Well, I did see that. Anyway, here's some screens while we laugh of things we need you to do. You can see the long version of this with a couple extra stories if you're a patron. We love all of you. We even love those of you who aren't patrons, sorta. For my lovely wife, Stacy, my name's John. So long for the Paranormal Sideshow.
Good night.